So if you look at the strategy, we have around sustainability that's largely based on three important pillars. The first pillar is your climate transformation. The second pillar is your business responsibility, and third is the circularity. Right? We put very equally uniform effort across the three pillars. However, if we talk about some of the recent achievements in our overall sustainability goals, for sure, our efforts towards net zero program has always been getting called out when we talk of some recent achievements. No, I mean, you may be knowing that we have 6 manufacturing units across India and Southeast Asia, and out of that 6, 5 units have almost decarbonized their carbon emission more than 95%. So they have reached at almost to the stage of decarbonizing their operations. And when we say decarbonization, it's largely around scope 1 and scope 2. And one remaining factory which we have, we expect them to get that status by end of this year. So by end of this year, all our manufacturing units would be decarbonizing purely from a perspective of scope 1 and scope 2. That's something we feel proud of. So look, if you look at the legal framework around climate and around environment, it's evolving with a very fast speed. It's evolving with a very rapid speed. And unfortunately, the companies are not able to cope up with that speed so long as the readiness to that evolving regulation is concerned. That's a risk. And if we go a bit deeper on that, the reason for this is largely at scope 3 level. Most of the companies are really doing great on scope 1 and scope 2. But the time it gets into the question or gets into the issue of decarbonizing your scope 3, companies are still playing low around it and looking at others' face. And that's the area when you really need to have a more integrated approach to address that area. The integration is not happening proactively, right? Coming together and having a concerted effort to really lift up some performance in scope 3 that's still lacking. I think that's the area when people still are undermining, which contributes to the most if you look at the overall emission in the environment. That's something I think people have to come together um, and work together to take it up a bit. Look, if you look at our compliance initiatives, no, or sustainability initiatives rather, all our initiatives are closely aligned with the global standards. No? I mean, if I can take the example of net zero program, what we run, we largely track three elements. No, when we just to understand as to how well we are progressing on our net zero journey. One is for sure your carbon emission. I mean, how well we are improving upon reducing the carbon emission. Second is on your efficiency, how best we are working to improve the efficiency around energy consumption. And third is our renewable energy sourcing, right? If you look at all three measures which we have adopted, right, we have aligned ourselves with the global guidelines or global framework around it, right? For example, if we talk about emission of energy, right, emission of carbon in the society, we work very closely. Our programs are very aligned with your GHG protocols, right, the guidelines which has been given there. Similarly, when we talk of renewable energy sourcing, our principles are quite aligned with RE100 guidelines, right? Similarly, when we talk of efficiency, we work extremely tight in line with the principles prescribed in your ISO 50001, right? So if your program, if your sustainability initiatives are deeply integrated with ESG framework, as well as if it is aligned with the global principles, no, I don't think you need to be bothered about the external scrutinies and all. I mean, that get you there just by keeping these fundamentals right.